If conditions are favorable, we can grow our own forest mushrooms in our garden, even the most popular ones, such as king boletes and porcini. They appear from May to November in coniferous, deciduous, and mixed forests. The bolete forms mycorrhiza with spruces, pines, beeches and oaks. It occurs singly or in small groups, in light places and on the edge of the forest. The occurrence of boletes depends on the phenomenon of mycorrhiza, i.e. a specific symbiosis of plant roots with species of fungi adapted to their needs. It is a process that benefits both parties. Trees can draw more valuable nutrients and water from the ground, and they also gain resistance to many diseases. In return, the fungi receive carbohydrates produced in the process of photosynthesis. The most natural habitats will be most beneficial for growing mushrooms. If our plot contains forest fragments, inoculating the mycelium will certainly bring results. However, in the case of a typical urban plot, when the garden was established from the beginning, we can try to use a small space for the cultivation of mycelium and plant shrubs, conifers, and plants that favor the establishment and growth of the mycelium. Mushrooms and their individual varieties need symbiosis with specific tree species to develop. The phenomenon of this interdependence is called mycorrhiza, i.e. cooperation for the proper development of fungi and plants. Boletes like the neighborhood of oaks, beeches, and spruces the most. Oak is the tree most favored by the boletus, also known as the edible bolete, but it also likes spruces. Beeches and oaks like the yellow-brown bolete. It is a species of thermophilic bolete that prefers deciduous forests, lowland areas, and calcareous soil. The beech itself is a common neighbor of the reticulated or reticulated bolete, but this fungus also likes oak trees. It also happens to form mycorrhizas with hornbeams and linden trees. The pine bolete, as its name suggests, prefers pine trees. Scots pine is best, but it can also grow under spruces, firs and beeches. It is a thermophilic species. The red bolete likes deciduous and coniferous forests. In lowland areas it grows under beech and oak trees, while in mountainous areas it forms mycorrhiza with fir and spruce trees. If you want to grow boletus mushrooms, just bring some old, mature, fully developed mushrooms from the forest, where there are mushroom spores, thanks to which the mushroom spreads. They can even be worm infested. Their spore tubes are important. We take such a mushroom together with the mycelium, with the roots of the mushrooms, which form mycorrhiza with a given tree species. We crush such mushrooms and throw them into water, where we leave them for a few hours, e.g. overnight. If luck is not on your side and you cannot find boletes in the forest, mycelium producers offer specially prepared vaccines containing the so-called live mycorrhizal mycelium, i.e. live mycelial hyphae, ready to immediately colonize the roots. The best conditions for the development of mycorrhizal fungi occur in spring and autumn. And then it is best to use preparations with mycorrhiza. Mycelium can be applied from March to October, but the most suitable time for boletus is August, September, and October. September is the peak period for the occurrence of Boletus italus. Then there are the best natural conditions for the dissemination of spores and the application of mycelium. The place where the mycelium is applied should be coniferous or deciduous trees, such as the previously mentioned beech, oak, spruce and pine. It is common both in forests coniferous, deciduous, and mixed. Although it has mycorrhizas with many tree species, its mycelium is most often associated with spruces. It is preferable when the trees are relatively young, about 5 to 10 years old. It is recommended to use ready-made gardening soil with a high content of deacidified peat or soil from the forest as a substrate. Dig holes around the tree trunk with a diameter of 30 to 40 centimeters and a depth of 15 centimeters. The holes should be dug at a distance of 5 meters, approximate 10 trunk diameters, from the tree trunk. Mix the solution with crushed mushrooms or mycelium from the package with 5 liters of peat, preferably fibrous peat, 1 liter of charcoal. Instead of charcoal you can use ash from a bonfire or fireplace where only wood was burned. To improve the parameters of the soil structure and to improve air and water conditions, it is worth using an additional half liter of gypsum and half liter of vermiculite or perlite. We moisten the prepared substrate. Next, dig a few small holes around the tree, preferably so that the roots are visible. Pour in about ½ liter of previously prepared substrate and cover with a 5 cm layer of soil. The whole thing should be beaten thoroughly. The younger the tree, the closer you need to apply the mycelium. Water the application site thoroughly, 1 bucket of water around each hole. The sowing site should be covered with a layer of bark, leaves, moss or twigs, preferably straight from the forest, but store-bought bark from a bag will work, as it often also contains spores of E.g. morel. A good practice is to pour sugar solution at the place where the mycelium is applied, which has a positive effect on the development of fungi. It is a kind of fertilizer for mushrooms that improves and increases their development and multiplication. Additionally, you can feed the mycelium with yeast solution and sugar. Research conducted by scientists from the Iraqi Journal of Agricultural Sciences in 2013 showed an increase in oyster mushroom yield by 50% after adding yeast. The results showed that yield and biological efficiency increased with increasing yeast extract concentration. Prepare it with 10 grams of sugar and 10 liters of water, add a cube of yeast and set aside for 2 hours. Then we water the soil with the solution. You can find detailed instructions on my channel in the video how to sow mushrooms in the garden. You will find the link in the description. From time to time, the plantation can be watered with a small amount of water, especially if there has been no rainfall for 2 weeks. During the fruiting period, in the absence of rainfall, it is recommended to moisten the soil periodically. Under favorable conditions, mushrooms may appear after the first or second year after planting the mycelium. In the case of amateur cultivation of mycorrhizal forest mushrooms, under appropriate weather conditions and other factors, you can count on harvests relatively quickly. In 1 year it is possible to collect from several to a dozen specimens under one tree. The optimal temperature for mushrooms is between +18 and +28 degrees. They can also grow in slightly cooler environments. However, the minimum temperature is +3.5 degrees. The spores of the mushrooms then begin to grow. It should be remembered that in summer and autumn the mass appearance of mushroom fruiting bodies is strongly dependent on a combination of factors such as available moisture in the substrate, current rainfall, and air humidity, air temperature and the natural rhythm of mycelium development of a given species. In peak seasons, fast-growing mushrooms are slippery jack and birch bullet, even within 1 day, so these are soft mushrooms. Porcini and Boletus grow much slower. We have to wait from 1 to 10 days for a representative of these species.